Welcome to Shujin Academy VGM Club. I'm Professor Tom, your faculty sponsor. Today's opening theme is Character Select from Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon for the Mega Drive, composed by Aki Hata, and it's a song that's been on my tracks to play on the show list for literally months. My last 3 shows required some research, and I'm having a very busy time in my secular life outside of VGM, so for this episode I wanted to do something that required a little less effort. And on my Google document that's got my plans for future episodes, I have a big list of tracks that I want to play on the show at some point or another, but that I don't quite have a concept for yet. There's actually more than 100 songs on that list, and that's not counting the 20-plus episode concepts and partial playlists that I've got on there. So I decided to do something easy, and we're just going to have a grab bag episode where I don't have to do much work apart from getting composer credits and writing a script. Yeah, I script out my talk segments. Trying to do them extemporaneously just doesn't work out well. We'll start off our first block with Thiana's stage from Panel de Pon, or maybe it's Forest stage from Tetris Attack. It depends on if you want to use the Japanese titles or the not-so-Japanese titles. The game's Japanese release as Panel de Pon had a bunch of cute fairies, while it used the Tetris Attack title and Yoshi's Island characters outside of Japan, and interestingly enough, Nintendo translated the international release back into Japanese and released it on the Satellaview add-on for the Super Famicom as BS Yoshi's Panapon. After Nintendo lost the Tetris license, and also after some grumbling from Tetris Company co-founder Hank Rogers, they changed the series name to Puzzle League for international releases, and it's been like that ever since. After that, we'll hear Ayumi from Famicom Tantei Club 2, The Girl Who Stands Behind. Professor Tom superfans might recognize this song from my guest appearance on episode 68 of VGMporium, where my podcast bro Rayjkayj and I talked about games involving investigations. I'll put a link in the show notes. On my last episode about rising stars in the VGM world, I played a block of songs from composer Garoad. I can't get enough of his work, so the third song in our block will be Snowfall from cyberpunk lesbian bartending visual novel Valhalla. For the block's fourth song, it'll be Harvest November from Seiken Densetsu 3, known as Trials of Mana outside Japan. This track is from composer Hiroki Kikuta. The fifth song in this block is Area 01 from Bionic Commando for the NES, composed by Junko Tamiya, adapting composer Harumi Fujita's soundtrack from the game's original but quite different arcade release. And finally in the block, it'll be track 4 from early NES game Mach Rider, composed by Hideki Kanazashi. Let's hear some music! Those songs were Thiana's stage from Panel de Pon, also known as Forest Stage from Tetris Attack, and then Ayumi from Famicom Tantei Club Part 2, then Snowfall from Valhalla, then Harvest November from Trials of Mana, then Area 01 from Bionic Commando for the NES, and finally Track 4 from Mach Rider. To start off our second music block, it'll be another song from one of last episode's Masters of VGM. The rising star composer here is Andrew Jeremy, and the song is Milk Honey Green Tea from Coffee Talk 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly, recently released for every major platform and well worth playing. For the second song in the block, it'll be Phoenix Wright Objection 2001 from Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney for the DS, composed by Masakazu Sugimori. That means that each of my first two blocks have an investigation game track and a Masters of VGM track, which isn't so much intentional as it is an indicator of what's on my list of tracks I haven't gotten to yet. The block's third song is The Last Hurrah of a Video Game Composer from Horizon Chase Turbo, composed by Barry Leach. The Horizon Chase games are a spiritual successor to the first three Top Gear games, which are themselves spiritual successors to the Lotus series of racing games for the Amiga. I covered both series in depth in episodes 30 and 31, and episode 30 in particular was a deep dive into Barry Leach's work in those series, so if you want to hear more music like this, but run through the Amiga and SNES and Nintendo 64 sound hardware, check those episodes out. And I swear this isn't an episode with my leftovers from other shows. There's just some great stuff that I couldn't fit into earlier episodes for reasons of either time or mood. Song number 4 is Chapter 02, Trial, from classic vertical shooter Ikaruga, composed by Hiroshi Iuchi. Ikaruga is one of the Dreamcast's gems, and I'm glad it's received physical ports to the GameCube and to modern systems so people can still play it today. It's one of those games where it would sell for a lot of money if it hadn't received ports. Even with the ports, physical copies of the game can still breach the 3-figure mark. To close out the block, I've got a pair of tracks from late 80s arcade games. There's Gen's theme from the original arcade version of Street Fighter, composed by Yoshihiro Sakaguchi, and then Wilderness from the original arcade version of Golden Axe, composed by Yu Takada. Street Fighter's soundtrack is its best feature. If it wasn't for the sequel, the game would be remembered as a failed experiment with an oddball control scheme. And I did play a little bit of Wilderness from Golden Axe back in episode 21, all about alternate takes on classic game themes, but for this episode, it's the original tune in all its FM glory. The block of songs starts now. Those songs were Milk Honey Green Tea from Coffee Talk Episode 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly, Phoenix Wright, Objection 2001 from Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney for the DS, The Last Hurrah of a Video Game Composer from Horizon Chase Turbo, Chapter 02, Trial from Ikaruga, Gen's Theme from Street Fighter, and Wilderness from Golden Axe. And now for a word from our sponsor. Hey, Professor Tom here. I use a lot of brainpower running this show, and so I need to be as smart as a giant brain in a glass tank running a galactic criminal empire. That's why I take Mother Brain. Mother Brain is the only psychomentality-enhancing supplement that contains real Metroid DNA extract, Chozo hormones, and genuine Taurian minerals to give you the better think stuff you need. Go to motherbrainsupplement.com right now and use the promo code Professor Tom for 0% off and no free gifts. Put some Mother Brain in your eat hole today. Now, back to the show. For music block Roman numeral I, we're going on a little trip because that's just how the songs flowed together. We are going to start with Manual from Military Madness for the TurboGrafx-16, composed by Jun Chikuma. Miss Chikuma is best known for her work on the Bomberman series, but I really like the dark, gritty feel of the Military Madness soundtrack. After that, it's Deserted Village from Romancing Saga for the Super Famicom, composed by Kenji Ito. This is a song from one of my favorite VGM sub-genres, Super Famicom RPGs that didn't get released in the USA. For our third song, it's Curious Dining from Fire Emblem Fates for the 3DS. This is a gentle piano track from a game that's an ambitious 3-part epic. To get the whole story, you had to play through 3 different campaigns, all of which hinge on a choice by the game's central protagonist. It's a worthy sequel to Fire Emblem Awakening, and for me, Awakening and Fates are still the peak of the Fire Emblem series. For song number 4 in this block, it'll be Manipura from Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga for the PS2, composed by Shoji Meguro. This is a moody track built around some great guitar and drum work from one of the multitude of Shin Megami Tensei franchise spin-off games. Streets of Rage 4 was an excellent revival of Sega's long-dormant side-scrolling beat-em-up series, and the soundtrack is just as good as the gameplay. For the 5th song in the block, I'm switching into techno mode for a track called Next of Kin Showdown. While much of Streets of Rage 4's soundtrack comes from composers best known for their video game work, this song is actually from Das Mortal, who's best known for his work in the world of electronic music. And to close out the block, it'll be another techno track. This one is The Round Sun from Persona 2 Eternal Punishment for the PSP. Eternal Punishment is the second Persona 2 game, and this is the version from the PSP remaster of the game, not the game's original PlayStation release. The original track is from Toshiko Tasaki, and it was reworked for the PSP by Toshiki Konishi and Atsushi Kitajo. Enjoy! Those songs were Manual from Military Madness, Deserted Village from Romancing Saga, Curious Dining from Fire Emblem Fates, Manipura from Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga, Next of Kin Showdown from Streets of Rage 4, and then finally, The Round Sun from the PSP remake of Persona 2 Eternal Punishment. That's the show. If you want to reach me, you can find me on Mastodon at Shujin Academy VGM Club at mastodon.coffee or on Discord as Professor Tom. I'm also on Tumblr and Instagram and now Threads as Shujin Academy VGM Club. All my episodes are posted to my YouTube channel, which you can find by searching for Shujin Academy VGM Club. You can email me at shujinacademyvgmclub@gmail.com. All my links to everything are available on my Linktree at linktr.ee/shujinacademy. Please leave me a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're finding this episode. Look for new episodes on Thursdays whenever I get them done, which is typically once or twice a month. Special thanks for this episode goes out to fellow VGM podcaster Jameson of Bar Silence Podcast for contributing cover art. You can and should find Bar Silence wherever you download podcasts, and check out his website at barsilence.com. Special thanks also goes out to Tycho and Gabe at Venerable Gaming webcomic Penny Arcade for coming up with the name Rando Calrissian in a long-ago strip they did about playing games online with strangers. I've shamelessly stolen that clever name for this episode, and I often find myself in lockstep with Tycho's cynical observations about society in general and gaming in particular. You can find their work at penny-arcade.com. To play us out, I've got one last song. It's Glimpse of a Memory, the opening menu theme from Persona 4, composed by Shoji Meguro. It's got a hopeful, determined feel that would actually fit in well on a JRPG's ending segment, which makes it a really interesting choice for an opening menu theme. Persona 4 is probably the least dark of the Persona Primary Colors trilogy, but it's still got some really heavy stuff. Maybe this song is on the menu to remind you that you can find the inner strength to keep going and get through it. Thanks for listening. I'm Professor Tom, and I'll see you next time on Shujin Academy VGM Club.